All right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're viewing this video. This will be the final lecture of this semester, and also my final video. So with that said, I want to thank you all for your work from this semester, the adjustments you made to perform at my expectations during this learning on the distance level. And that I hope that you took away some things concerning world religions. I know that this could have been a very, um, well, let's say, for lack of a better term, interesting semester, considering all the different types of ideologies, philosophies, and theologies we ran into. But I am happy to say that I learned a lot through you guys, and how you guys were able to synthesize a lot of your own personal beliefs, especially for those of you who are Christian or Catholic, and how you were able to synthesize those ideals into the different world religions that we encountered. So, with that said, my lecture today and the theme of your book, your final chapter in your textbook, is on religion in the modern world. So, we're taking what we know from all these themes of different world religions and how they kind of fit in to the world today, and the society in which we live. Very interesting concept, something that is discussed in very high intellectual places and sometimes not very high intellectual places, depending on what kind of conversations and people you surround yourself with. Um, so without further ado, with that short introduction, let's jump on in and then we'll look ahead to this week and a little bit into next week as we draw closer to finals. All right, so traditional religion in the modern age. Religious figures and other cultural heroes typically undergo some degree of metamorphosis as the centuries pass. So basically, what that's saying is that we encounter a level of change to these. As time goes on, we develop different understandings, historical perspectives, or even just overall acceptance or rejection of these major religious figures. The variety of visual depictions of Jesus through the ages has been extreme, from a boyish appearance to something of a rock star look. You can compare the transition as early as the Shroud of Turin to the paintings of Michelangelo to all the way up to Jesus Christ Superstar. So there's a lot of different depictions of how Jesus looked, and these depictions fit a certain cultural time frame. Um, Another big aspect to how these religious figures and religious practices are interpreted are through this realm and age of technology. Advances in technology such as the invention of the printing press and even writing itself have affected religion through the ages. And that was probably the first big change. The printing press obviously affected Christianity through the ability to mass produce the Bible, to reach out to a more literate society, changing the format of catechesis in general, but that's the same for Eastern religions as well. What other technologies exist that are in effect in religion today? Well, obviously with the COVID-19 breakout, and our society reacting to it in a way to try to eliminate the pandemic on the whole has caused for certain technologies to affect our religious experience, such as streaming the Mass or trying our best to use the technologies available to continue our own religious practices. Um, but even before that, you could look at the inventions of the cell phone, the internet in general, and how that affects catechesis, how it affects evangelization, these different components that most world religions practice. So, on that note, let's look at the internet a little bit more closely here. The internet provides many sites that offer religious materials, some facilitating active worship, and visitors are able to make inquiries and purchases on the spot. The internet has brought about a new subcategory, internet religion. And you can see, especially in my class, how internet is integrated into us learning about religion, different components of Christianity, or even the world religions that we did today. Even our textbook is within a technological device. Um, this video is through the internet, right? So all these different ways that we participate or interact within our religious communities happen within the internet. As a matter of fact, our Catholic faith right now, and I can speak for it, is kind of feels like an internet religion right now. um, but that's something that is kind of even normal before the pandemic hit. I could speak from my own experience. My grandmother, who when she was raising a family, and even a little bit after that, after all her kids had moved out of the house, she was a daily mass goer. And that changed as she aged. And I can remember when I would visit her in her older age, she would watch the mass, right? Because it was something that wasn't necessarily physically accessible to her. So that's something that we're all experiencing now. Multiculturalism, I'm going to talk about this on a couple of points here because this is pretty crucial. Multiculturalism is commonplace in today's world for for most of human history. Societies have not been multicultural, as we can see. And that can do with, the access the internet offers to many cultures, even the exploration of the world through different technologies then, like the ability to navigate, the seas, technologies that accessed the New World for Europe, or even different things that attributed to the world coming together. Societies have historically tended to assume their way is the right way before then, right? So you can look at some of the um, societies that presumed that the world was flat until we decided to take advantage of our technologies and realize that it was actually not, right? So before we are able to actually be revealed to some level of truth, historically societies kind of just stayed with their own belief systems. So, with that said, multiculturalism affects world religions with the familiarity that is increased between them. This can lead to greater levels of acceptance, absolutely. But some theorists are less optimistic about the capacity of modern society to embrace religious differences. You can look around the world at the conflicts today that still exist. Christianity in China, or the Middle East in general. Yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of places where they might still have access to be familiar with other faith beliefs if there still is much tension there. I'm gonna go ahead and skip over that for right now. I do want to speak to some more modern, contemporary world religions that kind of come out of this whole multicultural aspect. The Wheel of the Year. This marks important festivals celebrated by many forms of neo-paganism, which is still rather popular, including the Wicca. Um, you can see this especially, like I've noticed myself in my own Netflix experience, that a lot of Netflix films are centered around the occult or even around witchcraft or the Wicca right now. They tell stories of how these festivals are celebrated kind of in a neo-paganistic style. And you can see some of these festivals reiterated or depicted in these films. Not necessarily saying this is a good or a bad thing, but you can definitely see that the movie industry has kind of picked up on some of these neo-paganistic practices. So the dates of the festivals are based on the solstices and the equinoxes of the year. Samhain, or Halloween, is the most important festival, or Sabbat, for the Wicca. And that's pretty much common knowledge at this point. A new religious movement, relatively new in retrospect to other major Christian denominations. Mormonism is growing quite rapidly. We may recall, maybe some of you are relatively young though, the 2018 United States presidential campaign featured a Mormon candidate for the first time. And gaining acceptance by the mainstream, Mormonism challenges the category new religious movement. So you can see this in media, but you can also see this, by media they mean probably like sports. You see a lot of um, uh, Mormons being elevated on a certain level, especially through the University of BYU, and how they are able to, you know, meld and develop athletes that are professionally, renowned in some cases. Um, so that's kind of what I mean by that's not their foundation, but that's one of the reasons why in the mainstream Mormonism is talked about. All right. This is an interesting compilation here. The battle over fishes, so debates between Darwinists and the religious have occurred since the time of Darwinism, or since himself, the man. You see this a lot with like fundamental Christians and creationists, right? So debates between like Bill Nye the Science Guy and religious Christian pastors. You know, that would be the example here. Since early times, Christians have used the fish as a symbol of the religion. We remember this being the Greek acronym for Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. Supporters of Darwinism theory have struck back with their own symbol, right? So you got the developing fish there with legs. All right. Big Bang Theory, this will be my final note here, and this is kind of where that multiculturalism comes back, where we see kind of like the synthesis of um, commonplace knowledge and science with faith kind of in the background here. Cosmologists believe they are narrowing in on understanding the origins of the universe. Year after year, I feel like we gain more and more knowledge about this, and it's ongoing. Mainly because it's so fascinating, right? It's mysterious. Findings as of spring 2013 basically confirm the Big Bang Theory. There hasn't been much pushback on this. The Big Bang Theory still kind of reigns as king for the most part, as far as the origins of the universe. They have come up with some different kinds of theories. Quantum mechanics, for the most part, are kind of outside of that, but in a lot of cases they run parallel. Such a theory compels a sense of mystery that some might call religious. And one thing that I think I've already told you guys, but will reiterate here, is that the Big Bang Theory was, of course, developed by a Catholic priest. So you can see the intermingling of faith and science there. All right, so that's enough for me. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the calendar right now and spend a couple minutes just kind of refreshing everybody on what's kind of expected. You will notice that today I'm going to be posting on the 4th of May, the lecture on religion in the modern world. And then tomorrow, the 5th, remember your big 3 activity is due, and it is a project and it is a big part of your grade. So make sure you get that into me. And I'm giving you no work this week except for the chapter 15 review. So I don't even want you guys to worry about that until Wednesday. All right. So spend today and tomorrow on the big 3 activity, and then Wednesday through Friday working on that chapter review, which is your last one. So basically, I freed up the week knowing that you guys have a project due. Okay. So that would be why that is the way it is. Now moving on, I talked about this a little bit in my last video, but it doesn't hurt to go over it again. May 11th, I intend to release your study guide for chapters 11 through 15 of your textbook, so make sure you look out for that material tab for your study purposes. And then on Wednesday, we'll have our final activity. It will be a video response to the video, Does Religion Have a Place in Society Today? So running around the same things of your last chapter, same themes there. And then finally on the 15th, that would be not this Friday, but next Friday, I'll announce the final to the seniors. Those of you who still need to take the final, a lot of you will be excused though, obviously, due to your scores. And then that'll be the announcement, so keep an eye out on that if you're one of those seniors that has to take the final. Monday, May 18th will be the acknowledgement of that final, so you'll have to sign in, right? Kind of like last time with the midterm, acknowledging that you understand that the midterm's happening, that the final's happening. All right, and then so follows the same procedure for the rest of the class. Okay, so with that said, that's enough from me. More information to come out. Once again, thank you for this semester and for hanging with me. I know it's been kind of tough. So stay safe, stay well, and God bless.